Resident Evil Requiem finally sees the series return to Raccoon City, so it'll surprise no one that it's loaded with Easter eggs and references to the past. From deep cuts referencing 1998's Resident Evil 2 to an exciting mystery to solve, here are 28 brilliant little details that we've spotted in Resident Evil Requiem so far. For veteran fans, the unquestionable highlight of Requiem is Leon's return to the RPD, and as expected, the dilapidated department is packed with references to the past. Before you enter the doors of the Raccoon City Police Department, you'll notice the streets around you feel very familiar. Look behind you and you'll see the tanker that separated Leon and Claire and then subsequently exploded, still in the exact same position it was 28 years prior. Right next to the tanker is a building with a ruckus written on it, which is a reference back to the original 1998 game, which in turn referenced Street Fighter Alpha 2 Sakura. And if you don't know, a ruckus is Sakura spelled backwards. Perhaps surprisingly, this isn't the only Street Fighter reference you can find, but there are a couple of steps before we get there. Once Leon is finally reunited with the RPD, he's flooded with memories of his traumatic experience. In Resident Evil 2, just before you're introduced to the liquor, you'll find a dead police officer with its jaw sliced almost completely off. 28 years later, that police officer, well, his skeleton, is still in that exact same position, now notably sans jaw. Also still in the RPD is the remnants of all the strange puzzles that Leon and Claire had to solve, frozen in time and covered in dust. The lion statue puzzle in the main hall is declared to be the oddest of them all when he says, "This puzzle was weird." A trip to RPD wouldn't be complete without a snoop around the STAR's office, and although you can find lots of cool details in there, such as Jill's beret, it's Barry's scavenger hunt that's the most fun. After following the two clues, you'll find a hidden key for a locker. This key has the word JoJo written on it. JoJo is a reference to the Japanese manga JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which was also written on a locker in the original 1998 version of Resident Evil 2. The JoJo key opens a locker that contains a whole host of goodies, including Barry's gift of 2 tickets to the Raccoon City Zoo, a location that appears in the Resident Evil Outbreak series, which also happens to be the game our hero Grace's mom, Alyssa, is from. At the base of this locker though is a wealth of PS1 nostalgia, which includes box copies of the original Resident Evil, Street Fighter Alpha 2 and Mega Man 8. There's also a poster for Street Fighter Alpha, and what looks like to be a Temu PS1 that looks more like a Sega Saturn than a classic PlayStation. Later on the ground floor of the RPD, you can spot random appearances through the cracks in the wall of everyone's favourite edible hero, Tofu, who was an unlockable playable character in the original Resident Evil 2. Tofu, beret and all, peeks out to say hello, and yes, if you're quick enough, you can pop a shot at him to do some damage to his squishy consistency. I'm not sure what the exact trigger is for Tofu, but it feels like it's just after you pick up Barry's to-do list, which also appears to be the trigger for the next detail. Wesker's desk drawer is now an infamous location in the history of Resident Evil 2. In the remake, it contains a weapon component, but in the original, after hitting the action prompt 50 times, you were rewarded with an inappropriate photo of Rebecca Chambers. In 2026, after looking at Barry's to-do list, you'll find a note about a book called Medicinal Benefits of Herbs, showing that it's been returned to the library by Wesker. Make your way over to the library and find his book, look inside, and once again you'll find the photo of Rebecca, with a note referring to her as Rising Rookie Rebecca. Those 3 R's then happen to be the code for Wesker's briefcase, in which you'll find a charm of his iconic sunglasses. Once you've left the RPD, make sure to head left and you'll be able to revisit the parking garage, the location where Leon first met love interest / frenemy Ada Wong. In here, you'll find a cute bear charm, the same one seen on the keys that Ada hands to Leon in Resident Evil 4. In the RPD, you'll once again come face to face with Mr. X, but did you notice that Grace actually bumps into him too? Well, not really, but this guy in the streets of Renwood sure does look like he's wearing his outfit, complete with the fedora hat that he wears in the RE2 remake. Like Tofu and Mr. X, there's also another returning Resident Evil 2 legend, who, although never outright named, is quite clearly everyone's favourite no-nonsense mercenary, Hunk. This unlockable character from the original Resident Evil 2 and many games after turns up as a boss in Requiem's final act, and somewhat lives up to his legacy, with Leon declaring him to be a tough bastard.
Coming from you, that's quite the compliment.
R.I.P. Hunk. Resident Evil 2 isn't the only game from the series referenced in Requiem though, with the previous entry, Resident Evil Village, also getting a couple of nods. Just after you reach the helipad, you'll enter a room full of items to examine. One of these is a wine bottle which has the name Dimitrescu written on it, clearly referring to everyone's favourite goth mummy from Resident Evil Village. Later on in Spencer's study, you can see a picture of a lone woman with the letter M on it that refers to Mother Miranda, the big bad of Resident Evil Village and, as we find out at the end of the game, Oswald E. Spencer's idol and inspiration. One of Requiem's big bads is Victor Gideon, who sports some significant jewelry. Look close and you can see a snake motif on his ring, the same snake motif that is seen on Krauser's knife in Resident Evil 4. Requiem also has a reference to the silliest of Resident Evil puzzles, with Grace pointing out the ludicrous system of opening doors in these zombie-infested mansions. When inserting the red gem into the door at Rhodes Hill Care Center, Grace rightly states,
"How do people normally get in here?"
But perhaps no door in Resident Evil is more iconic than the original's loading screen animations between rooms, something that is referenced near the beginning of the game with a slow zoom on the door before the chainsaw-wielding doctor attacks Leon.
Mr. Kennedy, we need to leave immediately.
What's going on?
I don't know what's happening, some kind of mass hysteria. The hospital is on lockdown.
And that battle is complete chaos, with a host of cool interactions with the chainsaw. There are a couple of brilliant details you might miss though. The chainsaw is unwieldy at the best of times, spinning wildly when on the floor. But if you manage to kill a zombie while they're still holding it, the chainsaw will end up dragging the fallen flesh eater along for the ride. A zombie can also be impaled with a still operational chainsaw, with the revving blade protruding straight through their ribcage. Don't let them get too close though, because if they grab you, then they'll drive their chest with the chainsaw directly into yours. It's quite clear that many of the other zombies roaming the halls of the Rhodes Hill Care Center have their own personalities, but there are also medical records that you can find that share their names and defining traits. A personal favourite is Eileen Zimmerson, one of the singing zombies whose personality disorder is described as main character syndrome. Meanwhile, the enormous mass grinding its way through the hallways, who we know as Chunk, is actually called Thomas K. Jackson, and the version that Leon takes on is called Timothy B. Jackson. So yes, they are actually brothers, both with irregular eating pattern disorders.
Stop moving!
Interestingly, several zombies still retain traits from their mortal existence, like the cleaning zombie, who is super focused on scrubbing the blood out of the mirror. She will, however, also move locations to clean up the gore you create by killing other zombies.
Come out! Come out!
Later on, when Grace and Emily meet the helicopter pilot, most would progress on with the story while Emily is safe in the helicopter. If you're a psycho though, Capcom has prepared custom dialogue should you, for some reason, decide to unload on the whirlybird.
Hey! Stop f***ing around!
Capcom has also layered subtle instructions in the environment when Leon first takes to the motorbike in Raccoon City, with a billboard appearing very early on that says "Learn to steer" just after the player takes control. Leon is a master with his equipment, as shown when using a flashlight with a handgun. When you go to reload, Leon will smoothly tuck the flashlight into his shoulder, making for a very slick and detailed animation. Also interesting when reloading, both Grace and Leon will retain the magazine if there are still rounds in it. If it's empty, they'll discard the clip. The final details are, at the time of writing this script, part of an unsolved mystery, so answers might be out there by the time you watch this, but they are super cool nonetheless. After taking out the tyrant, you'll notice a basketball court with a suspicious looking head in the middle. Shuffle kick that head along until it goes through the hoop, and you'll get a new action prompt that tells you there's no time for playing around. Instead of pushing forward to the orphanage, head back to Kendo's gun shop and you'll now find a prompt on the headless toy uncle bobblehead that reads, "Just ignore A." Our first theory was that this was a reference to the ending choices, since the first ending, or A ending, isn't the canon one, but we've since stumbled upon something else that might explain it a little further. The final mystery is a doozy that we've yet to solve, but here are the hidden clues that we have so far. After you escape from the girl in the elevator shaft, her arm will be severed and available to pick up. It didn't appear to serve any purpose until we decided to run it through the analysis machine that you use to upgrade your crafting recipes. After solving this puzzle, you're then shown a black screen that says "Let's play" and a sequence of G, A, U and C letters, and I think it's safe to ignore A based on our prior clue. Hidden in the game are some clues to what these letters mean. In an hourglass that you can rotate, U is revealed to be 380,000. In Grace's blood analysis report, C is 4.2 LY, and on the side of the blood analyzer device, there's a sticker that tells you what G equals. What does this all mean? Well, our guess was that it's the distance to the moon, sun, and nearest star, which also happens to be the selectable buttons for the puzzles in the Rhodes Hill Care Center. After entering the code into a machine, you're then presented with this creepy sound effect of laughter. What does that mean? That's where we're stumped. Hopefully you already have the answers in the comments and it's not disappointing, but it's a fun journey regardless. And that's everything that we've spotted so far in Resident Evil Requiem. Did we miss any cool Easter eggs, or are there any small gameplay details that we should have been talking about? Let us know in the comments, and for more on Resident Evil Requiem, be sure to stick with IGN.